Yo, what's going on, YouTube? How's everybody doing? What's the word? How's everybody's shit and life and whatever going? Yeah, back with another video. As you can see by the title, pretty exciting video, I think. Something that I've been wanting to do for a little minute now. You know what I'm saying? Start dropping these big name sessions and stuff. Because I've worked on a lot of cool stuff, a lot of stuff that's never come out, which I definitely won't do a video on, but can definitely talk about in the future. Um, but got a couple things that I worked on that's been released on a major label and stuff like that, and this is one of them. Um, this song is called "Old Soul." It's by 2K Baby featuring G Herbo, um, which I worked with for about like 3 years, off and on, not consistently. I was always usually, especially at the beginning, I was definitely like the backup engineer if, his main engineer with an S, engineers, because he had a couple, at least here in the city in Chicago. And when he would come to studio, it was either between me or this other engineer. And usually, like I said, I was mostly the backup, but I still worked spent plenty of time plenty of time with him. And yeah, really cool experience, really nice person, very good artist, especially somebody that I listened to growing up and stuff, so it's kind of like a full circle moment when I had the opportunity to work with him for the first time. And yeah, I don't know, we spent like maybe like 4 years working together, like I said, off and on. And yeah, this is one of the songs that came out, which was pretty cool. um, like I said, it's off of 2K Babies. I'm assuming it was his debut album. He was signed to Warner at the time. I don't think he is now, or I could be totally wrong. Maybe he still is. Um, but yeah, so manager reached out, or A&R, I guess, and wanted a feature from G Herbo because he's has a really good relationship with him. And yeah, so he just came in. It was like during COVID, I think, kind of like the middle of it, where everything was like kind of figuring stuff out or whatever. And like the studio was really only open if we had sessions. Like you couldn't just go and hang out and work and stuff like that like you used to during that time. But yeah, I don't know, it was like a 8 hour session. I think it was like literally like 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. or 6 to 6 or some crazy shit. We did a lot of stuff. And this is one of the features that came out. And you can see we recorded this 02/21/20, so that was 4 years ago now, almost five now, which is kind of crazy to think. And then I think it came out in like April or May or something like that. I don't know. You can check it out on my Instagram if you don't follow me on Instagram already. Ricardo_Tolbert on Instagram. And you can even see the recording session. Kind of posted like a little snippet after we recorded the verse and stuff. That you can go check out on my Instagram and stuff. But yeah, anyways, I thought it'd be cool. This is a 5-year-old session. It was like one of those situations where you just didn't know if your mix was gonna come out. Like I just didn't even think about it. I just like, okay, cool, just recording another feature, recording another thing or whatever. And yeah, well, hopefully it gets released, and fingers crossed. And it did. And I would say the only thing that was kind of like whatever, uh I guess, I don't know, I wasn't annoyed by it, but I was and I wasn't, because it was like the first time that I had like a really big major release. But basically, yeah, I just sent stems over. And I would say like the only thing that they did is to my mix is they added a lot of reverb, which he doesn't like reverb. I mean, maybe he does now, but at the time he definitely did not like reverb and didn't want any reverb on anything. And then they thinned out his vocals a little bit more. So on the actual release, if you want to go check it out, or if you haven't heard it already, it's definitely going to be noticeably thinner than what I'm about to show you, and definitely way more reverb. Um, so it is what it is. I mean, I didn't get the official mixing credit, which was a little frustrating. I'm still kind of trying to work on that, weirdly enough. But I did get a recording credit at the very least, which was kind of cool. That I was able to navigate on my own. So just trying to see if I can figure out to get like a mixing credit too, because that would be kind of sick. But at the very least, still got credited on it, which is kind of nice. And yeah, so basically, here's the session. You can see that I have the old mix and the new mix that I just did literally like 15 minutes ago. Because the old mix has a lot of plugins that I do not use anymore, I don't own, or they were part of the studio, and I definitely didn't have them. So this is pretty much like the original tracking session, and I'll kind of go through it and talk about it. It's very simple. I mean, you can see this is definitely before folders and stuff, so this looks really weird. It looks almost like a lot. It's kind of hurting my eyes, but and then you can see a lot of inactive plugins that I didn't use. Like I said, I was just assuming that this was just going to be a tracking session, and I was going to send off the stems, and maybe the song would never see the light of day or the verse or whatever. But it's kind of cool because it kind of shows that the situation I was in and like the amount of processing that I did still made the cut basically, and you don't need all this fancy routing and plugins and all this stuff because I was using very basic plugins. You can see at the time basically all waves you can see, which if you watch my channel, I'm not a waves fan anymore. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know, there's some interesting things too. Like for some reason, I don't know why I had this this like second track. It's like oops, sorry, my mic cut out because I got a solo safe. There we go. So I also don't know if this is going to be taken down. This video could probably be taken down like immediately or something. I'm just going to try to not play as much as possible. I've talked about it before, especially now that I'm monetized. I don't know what's going to happen, so we're going to see. And if you do get to see this video and you're lucky and it doesn't get taken down, then yeah, I guess you're lucky. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But for some reason I had two. So okay, so this is just the instrumental. You can see obviously, and then this is the actual song. So when I play it, you'll hear 2K's verse, and this was before like the final mix and stuff. But all the lyrics and everything's still the same pretty much. But I don't know why I like high passed it or not high passed it. I low passed it, and I don't know if like when I imported this into a new session, because I imported this old session data into a brand new session, so I don't know if this was something that I was like messing with at the time, and like I don't know, like in session for whatever reason, I just don't even remember doing any of this, but I don't know why they were both. I don't know. For some reason, I did this, and I don't know why. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Because like I said, this is almost a 5-year-old session, so I definitely don't remember every detail. And like I said, this top track. This top track is the instrumental. Sorry, cut out. Definitely during a time, it's still a thing, but definitely during a time when stuff was still very limited, as you can see, and you can hear it's super distorted. And I'll talk about trying to navigate around a very limited beat, or 2-track or instrumental in this case. But yeah, let's just navigate through it. Like I said, this isn't going to sound exactly like the actual release because first of all, I don't have any of the plugins, so it's not going to sound exactly the same like what's on streaming platforms and stuff like that. And then, like I said, second of all, I could definitely tell they did their own thing because when I remember listening to the original session when the song came out, and I was like, oh, they like thinned out his vocals way more and added reverb, which is like the opposite of what he likes or wanted. And like I said, I don't know, things could have changed. He could probably not care anymore or whatever. But I do remember that being a big thing, and I only remember that because I remember he specifically complimented me because at that time that was kind of towards the end of us like not working as much because of COVID, and yeah, it just wasn't. He just started traveling a lot more and stuff, so just wasn't working with him as much. But I do remember because, like I said, it was a very few like last sessions that we had together, and I just remember like obviously we had known each other by this point, and he just complimented, saying like really likes how I mix his stuff and all this stuff or whatever. But anyways, so yeah, like I said, all the plugins aren't here, so when I play it, it won't sound exactly like the major release, and they also did their own thing to it. Well, I guess I should unsolo this and mute the...
I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real. Way before rapping was Glocks in the field. Talking like that cause he probably for real. I was front line, still will when it get real. Couldn't be a kid, now I'm grown, got a big wheel. Slid on niggas, better ask how the glick feel. Only Thursday, we done been on 6 drills.
So yeah, I'm gonna try to play it like this because, like I said, I really don't want this video to be taken down because it's something that I've been wanting to put out. So apologies that I can't play like the full thing, but I just kind of want to play it safe and make sure that everybody can at least see the video before it gets taken down, or if it does, because I think the info and the videos will help and be very helpful. But yeah, I also left the clip gain line on and stuff like that, and I left the clip like name so you can see because I think it's important. I'm gonna point out why. But otherwise, I usually just take all this shit off. Like I think it's just distracting. I don't want to see the line. I don't want to see the name of the clip or anything like that. And yeah, so yeah, let's talk about that first. So I mean, you can see that like obviously punching in, you see this is like track. This is take 128, and then the verse starts at 10. So I don't know. It's just kind of cool to see like the progression because he writes as he goes, and we just kind of punch in. As you can see, like it's kind of going in order. Like we, punch 30, punch 36, then 37, and so on. And then when it was time for ad libs or anything like that, same thing. And then I can show you what I mean if you don't know what I mean. So let's do this. And then here's the actual record track where I do all the recording, and you can see all the takes that we did, all the punches that we did just to kind of build this verse together. So if I kind of do this, and I hold it, you can kind of just see, and it looks like obviously we recorded in a different spot during the session too, which I thought was kind of cool. So maybe, yeah, maybe so the label or the artist could hear the verse instantly. We just kind of moved up the verse right at the beginning of the instrumental, so it starts off with it. But yeah, you can see a lot of takes, a lot of work goes into songs, especially somebody working like at that level. I always tell artists that are working on stuff that like don't have like a name for themselves and all this stuff, yeah, just basically like a very like just not major artists. I just always try to tell them like the main difference between a major artist, one of the main differences for sure, is that they put in a lot of work with writing and tracking and stuff. And like I said, you can see like obviously I can go through all the takes in like 30 seconds, but that that in reality is like 3 hours or 4, and that's just like on vocals or whatever. So it's just like, if it's one tip, I would say it's just spend more time in the recording process, spend more time getting the right takes, the perfect takes and stuff like that. Yeah, I just think it's super important because there's a reason why artists at that level spend so much time in the studio, and obviously it's a luxury to be able to do that. And it depends where you're recording and stuff, but even if it's just at home, just spend way more time recording. Yeah, it's just beneficial. But anyway, so yeah, that's the takes. That's how I recorded it. It was recorded on a U87, a vintage one specifically. And vintage meaning like the 80s, I think. Yeah, it was probably like late 80s to early 90s. It definitely wasn't like early 80s or 70s. Yeah, I think 80s or U87 came out in 70s, right? Somebody fill me in the comments if you know exactly. But it's still a vintage one. Definitely wasn't a reissue or remake. It's still the old silver body, and like I said, it was definitely at least from the 80s for sure. But yeah, that was there was a specific one. If you worked at a major studio before, just like a studio with a lot of microphones, you always know if you have multiple microphones, there's one at least that stands out, or one that is someone's favorite at the studio. And specifically, I think this one was like number 3 or something, which means that was just the microphone that lived in Studio 3, like at the studio that I was at, or some shit like that. It was either Studio 3 or Studio 4. I can't remember. But I just remember that was the best sounding U87 for whatever reason, because they're all slightly different. And but yeah, anyways, vintage U87, and then just into a 1073 microphone preamp. I don't know why I said the full thing like that, but yeah, and I think it was even like, I think it was the Heritage one. I don't even think it was the actual Neve, because we did have Neve, a couple of them, and then we had a couple Heritage. But this was like, these are like the original Heritage. This isn't like these new ones that are like $600, $700. Like this is like the one that was like a 3-spacer in a lunchbox with the EQ, like the original like hand wired built Neebs that I think they still make them, but at the time, I mean, these things are like 3 grand or whatever. I believe I could be totally wrong, but they're definitely not 600 or $700 like these the Elite series that they have is what I'm thinking about. It's not any of those. This is like when Heritage first started, when they came on the market and released those. And then I don't think I use a compressor, and if I did use, I don't think I did because it's kind of you can kind of tell. But also this was kind of early, and maybe I wasn't compressing as much. But if I did compress, and I'm only saying that because I can't remember specifically to this session, but if I did compress with anybody and specifically him, it was definitely an LA2A or a Tube Tech for sure. Most likely an LA2A. And then if we were downstairs in like the smaller writing room, then there was an Avalon 737 in there, and I would definitely use the compressor on that if I felt like I had time to set up to use it and stuff. Because if you know, just in general, artists like to work fast, especially at that level, but specifically, rappers like to work very quickly. You don't even know when it's time. They just get on the mic, put headphones on, and you start recording. So sometimes you don't even have time to set up the compressor if you wanted to. But I felt pretty good and understood the workflow and would kind of have things set up ahead of time, and then I kind of just had to tweak as we recorded. But yeah, that's the background, the recording chain. And everything was done in the control room. You could hear when I play it, there's a little bit of bleed and stuff from the headphones.
I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real.
You can hear a little bit of bleed from his headphones and stuff. Not that that says anything about the control room. But yeah, I don't know. I just remember I mean, most rappers do. A lot of artists do these days, actually. But specifically him, like, he likes to sit and watch the screen so he can point things out. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, rarely we would record in the booth. And luckily, like I said, pretty popular studio that I was at, so the control room sounded great. No weird reflections, plenty of room to stretch out, and he can get comfy and perform, and I can work Pro Tools and all that stuff, and yeah, record as best as possible. But yeah, so that's background on the recording, background on the track, the artist, the label, and everything. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. And like I said, you can see I left the clip gain on, and you can see that I'm like, moving a couple words up, turning stuff down. If I really zoom in, you can see like this ad-lib's at 0, this one's at 4.8, that one's at -4.8. This is like something that I do a lot, especially when I'm tracking, and I definitely did a lot more back then. Is I was like super confident and ballsy as I was recording or as I would record. And like I said, I still do this not as much anymore because I've gotten better with like compressors and stuff. But I would literally clip gain at, like, if I knew for sure this was the take and we were moving on, like each word or each phrase, each sentence, I would literally just clip gain as we go. Like I would try to like remember, like, oh, was that part a little low? Was this word low? Like I would be glued to the screen, like listening to exactly what he's saying or what the artist is saying, and just go through and like clip gain. And it's just like little things like that where I just felt like made the session smoother. It made me look quicker and faster. And then, like I said, if it you never know when a song is going to get released or a verse is going to get released, meaning like a feature or something. So, you want to do much on the back end or like as you're recording. So if it does get released, hopefully it sounds like as mixed as possible, because at the end of the day, your name's going to be on it. Fortunately and unfortunately, because then you don't really have time to mix. You kind of just send it out. But yeah, you can see, like I would fade as I go. Like I literally did this as I was recording. Like there's no time to like sit there and be like, all right, can you guys give me like 10 minutes to go through and clean up the vocals? Like it kind of is what it is. And like I said, not every artist works like that, but there's other artists, or there's a lot of artists out there that do work like that, and you kind of just gotta go with the flow and adapt or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much the background, to finish off the actual comping and stuff like that. And yeah, let me play a little bit. And like I said, hopefully it doesn't get taken down. I won't play too much. And then, this isn't a fair comparison because, like I said, I don't have all the plugin stuff, but I just want to show you what it sounds like, and then kind of the quick little mix I just did and implemented my new template.
I'm from that block where they
Not gonna play too much, but it doesn't really matter. Song's already out. You can listen to the final product if you want to. But anyways, like I said, since there's not that many plugins, you can hear like the beats really loud, the hi hats are really loud in the beat. There's only so much control I have over that, and like vocals aren't cutting through, like I said, because there's not that many plugins. But like, yeah, if you want to see all the plugins, I mean, ad libs, just literally the basic ad lib EQ, and I only use this specific preset because I remember one time I asked Alex Toomey, and he's like, I just literally, I mean, at the time, things could definitely change now. This was like 5 or 6 years ago, but I remember him saying like, oh, I just use the basic ad lib telephone preset in the EQ7 and Pro Tools. And then AutoPan, that was like a very just basic go-to thing for a lot of engineers and stuff for ad libs, for rap. R compressor, SSL channel, talked about it before. I'm a huge SSL channel strip person, fan, or whatever. I don't know. I just did a video. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Really good video comparing the Brainworks versus the UAD channel strip. But yeah, this was the Waves. I was a huge fan. De-esser, I mean, just all the classics pretty much is a classic thing. And then looks like I did an overall EQ on the verse and just took out a little bit of 200, 3 dB, not too bad. A lot of the EQ probably definitely would have been done on the channel strip, especially during this time. Little slapback, little eighth delay, no quarter, little mono reverb. I was doing a lot of mono reverb at that time. Something I kind of want to get back to. And then a stereo plate, a little bit of chorus, a little bit of doubler. And then I used to do this like octave down, this classic, like I just called it deep, just because it adds like a deep octave to the vocal. And something else I'm thinking about doing again. I don't know. Kind of just got tired of that sound. But I think maybe I don't know. I want to try it again. But yeah, just using the little what is it, Alter Boy preset. Or no, I was using the doubler at the time. Yeah, because this is Waves. And then yeah, there was like they had like a pretty much a pitch preset. It's like one of the stock presets in there, and I would use that. But Brainworks still use this in my template these days. H delay used to be a fan, but now I'm on Valhalla, which reminds me of the H delay, if not an even better version. EMT 140 looks like I used the reverb on this, and then that was probably for tracking purposes too, because we were on HDX system and I was able to get low latency while using that. And then plate for the mono. Damn, I haven't seen this in a long time. I used to love this thing. And then I just used the Avid chorus that comes with Pro Tools. And then doubler S1 imager, even more widening on it, and like I said, the doubler for the deep. And then I guess I used to use parallel compression on the vocals, something I absolutely don't do anymore or ever. Yeah, I don't know. It's just funny to see this stuff. Maybe I just didn't obviously know what I was doing. But yeah, a little bit. I used to love this thing, the Linda. I still do. I mean, the hardware is great too. The Pultec is really nice. Just kind of like an 1176-ish compressor. One of the first Plugin Alliance compressors or plugins I bought. And then just some basic EQ, I guess. Alicia, I made a video on this a couple months ago. I used to use this in MS mode on my master a lot. Yeah, it sounds great. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Cambridge, I hope this gets updated. I mean, it looks crusty as fuck. I wish it would go native. I hope it does in the long run. I think this is one of those sleeper plugins that UA has. It doesn't really get talked about a lot and doesn't get any love, but if you still have losing my voice, if you still have UAD like hardware, I would consider picking this up. I literally got it for like I think like $20 for something. Like this was in UA's heyday. This was when they were like throwing out coupons left and right, and you barely had a minimum and stuff. Like I bought so many. I'm lucky. I'm lucky, and I'm glad I did, because these days it's like it's rough out there. Like people think these sales are nice and stuff, but I feel like their sales are way better. And they were, I will say, they were definitely a lot more rare than they are now. But it was worth the wait, because like Black Friday came around, Christmas came around, Cyber Monday, like that was the time to buy UAD plugins. Like they would give you just nice coupons, and like I was literally getting, like, I'm pretty sure I got this plugin for like $20 or some crazy shit. And this is like $100 plugin. I can't remember. But anyways, enough about that. Cambridge, check it out. Good plugin. Just overall, it's very, use it lightly. I would say that too because it's a very aggressive EQ. I mean, you can see my EQs like 1 dB, 1 dB. SSL compressor, the Waves one. Yeah, I don't have an opinion on that. They're all the same, I think. And then the L2, like I said, just standard shit. And then this Event Horizon, I remember this is like a plugin that you necessarily don't need to pay, I believe. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like they want, like you can use that's what it is. You can use the demo as long as you want, but they encourage you to pay, but you technically don't need to. Maybe this has changed. I mean, I bought this plugin like a long time ago. I remember somebody from the Kanye, when I was working on Kanye stuff in like his camp or whatever, one of the engineers recommended this and said like, oh, everybody in LA is like, this was like during that time when I like discovered like, oh, different cities have different things. Like there's an, LA engineers, LA thing, New York, blah blah blah. Like I was like, oh, what do you mean everybody in LA use, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like one of those things. But anyways, it's a good plugin. It was like one of the early like clipping like uh based off of the fucking Gold Clipper. What's the main hardware that everybody's obsessed with? Looks really cool. It's like thousands of dollars. Everybody has plugins on that now, but this was like one of the originals and one of the best. I think even Dave Pensado talked about it and like used it in one of his videos. And then just a classic analyzer. Just the Waves one, like I said. And then yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. And then I guess I used to do this vintage love thing, which is kind of funny. It's just like like a master before I master. I guess I was like mixing. I think I was mixing into it. That's what it was. That's when I used to use the PSP vintage warmer a lot. Not using it that much these days. If it is, it's for like BGVs and stuff like that. Yeah, great plugin though. Like I said, I still use it every now and then. If I feel like I need to use it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Very basic. Like I said, this was like most likely also just like very, dumbed down because I was tracking a lot, so I didn't want to have like these huge templates or like I think I was just like in the headspace where I just want to add, if I needed something, I'll just make new buses, new plugins or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, like I said, I imported all that into my new current session. Obviously, it looks a little bit smaller because there's not really that many stems, especially for the track or anything like that. And you can see. And then I'm not really going to go through all this. I mean, I pretty much copy and pasted it. Like I said, I mixed this in like 15 minutes maybe. I just wanted to kind of get a solid mix to kind of show you like the direction I'd probably go into now these days. There's definitely a little bit of some resonant stuff going on in his vocal, and I think the biggest thing with a recording in the control room like so close like this, that I always like the issue I always came across with that was there's a lot of resonance in that, because I really, and I think there's like a lot of resonance with the microphone stands. I don't know, I would set up the microphone stand like not directly in front of the artist, if that makes sense, if you can picture that. So like I would put the microphone, and then, if it, especially obviously I would need an arm. So if the microphone stand had a long enough arm, I would stretch out the arm all the way and then kind of anchor it like the base and the body of the stand wouldn't be in front of the artist, because when I would do that, and I tested this in the session and stuff, or like in sessions before, is like you would get a lot of resonance from the vocal. Like the vocal would go through the mic obviously and then out the other side, and then it would just hit the microphone and then resonate back into the microphone just a little bit. But then soon as I discovered like, oh, maybe let's not put the actual stand in front of the artist, let me just swing the arm around and then have the body away from them, like that helped so much. But I think this was during a time when I hadn't discovered that yet. And I can remember too, because I remember that the studio we were in, we were right next to the D, because we had a huge D command in there. It was just like a digital room. And I just remember him just being like, he just liked to sit in a certain spot. And it could also be his vocal resonating off of the actual desk itself and back into the microphone. It's not like the biggest deal, like, But like I said, I'm noticing it now, and that's the only thing I would say I would spend more time on his vocals if I were to like, mix this again or remix this. But I'll point it out as I listen, and I'll kind of go through what I did and the new things that I did. But yeah, let me just play. Like I said, just a little quick balance, quick little EQ and compression, nothing professional. There's nothing to beat. It's already out in the world. I'm not gonna try to recreate something.
Big block photo.
So yeah, play a little bit longer. Like I said, hopefully it doesn't get taken down. I don't think it will, but if it does, I guess you're lucky if you get to see this. But yeah, nothing too much different. I mean, the only thing I did, since I don't use a de-esser anymore, I just went through and you can see I kind of like de-ess some stuff. And I definitely turned down the vocal, like all the actual clips themselves. I turned all the way down. I guess because I was recording through plugins during that time, I wasn't realizing how hot I was recording. Like it wasn't clipping or anything. I was recording at a nice level. But as far as like when I would bypass the plugins, it would kind of clip the track a little bit, but it wasn't clipping the actual audio. It was just like clipping in Pro Tools, and I just don't like the idea of that. So yeah, I just went through and kind of turned everything down like 5 dB. Like I literally just grabbed everything like this and then clip gain down like 5 dB. And now they were hitting the plugins correctly and stuff, at least to what I like now. But yeah, like I said, I'll just go through it real quick. I know I said I wouldn't go through my template because this template is all over my channel. I break it down in a lot of videos, but you know, uh, switching to the UAD right now. Like I said, talked about it a lot on my channel. If you know, you know. I think this is like the best one on the market right now. But yeah, just a little bit of 250. I'm assuming, I don't know what this is, 280, between 200 and 300. Took out a little bit of that. I'm assuming this is 6 to 700 or 500. I don't know. Took a little bit out of that, and then took a little bit of upper mid range because he has a lot of nasal, especially with the way he projects on the microphone. And then I always like to add a little bit of 16K to his vocals. I think it sounds really good. He has a really like low mid range vocal, not a lot of high end, in my opinion. So I always like the way this EQ sounded on his vocal. And then just a little bit of compression. So let me solo it.
I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real. I was front line, still will when it get real. Couldn't be a kid, now I'm grown, got a big wheel.
So yeah, you can see not doing more than 3 dB at the most. It's just at 3 dB, I would assume, or maybe it's 3 to 5, I guess. I've always liked how the SSL sounds. And then, like I said, I like this plugin, mentioned it before in other videos. I like to use the transformer, so I flip that in, so it switches into mic mode, mic line mode, or whatever, and then hit the pad because obviously it's gonna, mic is a lot hotter signal, so take that and then just raise the volume. And usually this third dot is like a pretty even match. I don't know, check it out on your own, but I find that this is a pretty close match, which I should just save this as a preset. I think I did. I don't know what happened. My preset got deleted or some shit, or maybe I did it on the actual UAD like DSP version. But other than that, just a filter, if it matters to you, dynamics before, and then same thing with the filter as well. And then that's pretty much it. And then this I got a little crazy with because, like I said, there's a lot of resonance. He has a lot of low end. The proximity on certain words, like usual, is just a little. Just try to tame it a little bit.
I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mob. I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real. I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real.
So, just some basic shit, and then compression.
I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real. I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving and mobbing for real.
So yeah, just some basic stuff, you know what I'm saying? Nothing too crazy. And then as far as effects, just a mono, just like I was doing in the previous session. A little bit of slap, no quarter. I used the 480 on this versus the deverb. I think I just used the ambient thing. Yeah, I just used that. a little bit of pre-delay, turned down the length of the reverb, and brought up the high frequency and low frequency I took out, I guess, at 300. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And then a little bit of Dimension D, a little bit of doubler action, just like the other one. Nothing too crazy. Um, and then, the instrumental, and it says it's all drums, but technically it's the instrumental. I just did a little bit of boost, 1.6 dB at 16K for the instrumental. And like I said, like keep saying, if you see my other videos, you see my template video, you know why I use these. A little bit of ensemble, a little bit of flanger, a little bit of Shadow Hills action, my go-to, and then just a little bit more EQ, just to kind of take out those resonance in the mid-range and the low mids and lows. And then all effects is just a standard on my template. And then compression.
I'm from that block where they rob and they kill. Young niggas starving in my.
I mean, the instrumental is so fucking limited already that, like, this is just kind of like making sure, I guess, the bass or the low end doesn't get too crazy. It's kind of just a safety net. I kind of just like sort of set it and then forgot about it. Didn't really put too much thought into it because, like I said, there's only so much I can do. When something's limited, it's limited. So compression's not really gonna help or make any difference in this. And then Studer, this is just for EQ situation. This also helped with the hi-hat. So let me solo the instrumental, and then I'll show you what I mean. So this is without the Studer. Trick, what I feel like tape plugins are good for, is definitely making something more low, depending on your settings too, but the settings that I use, and this is kind of a little preset that I made, it kind of makes the track more lo-fi, but not in like a degrading way. Not lo-fi like, where you can hear like the bit rate or something like that. Lo-fi just meaning just a little bit of boost in the low end, and then taking some of that top end out, which you can obviously hear with this. And I'm taking some out on the track itself, but just overall, when I put this on, I was like, oh, this made a huge, this is doing exactly what I need other plugins to do to the instrumental, and this is already doing it on the mix bus, so it's even better. And then it gives me room to add high end to the track because it's kind of taming it. And then I can bring back the high end with an EQ or saturation and have a little bit more control over that instead of kind of just leaving it up to how the track was made. And, it's no fault to the producer too, because he's just making beats and stuff, so probably not like going too crazy with the mixing and stuff, because they're gonna get stems to it anyways, which I'm assuming that's what happened. I would hope. I think it did, but whatever, you know what I mean. And then then after that, this is pretty much just a staple, just kind of a Pultec kind of thing, a little boost in the low end and the top end, and that's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy there. And then I just used the soft clip. So if it happens to clip the output a little bit, maybe it'll do it in a much nicer way. And then the Ozone, just the default no EQ Imager 3, and then that's like the default too, and that's just for YouTube and for, I don't know, my headphones, I guess. And then just SSL meter. Rarely use that right now anymore. And so yeah, no real direction with this video. Like I said, just kind of want to break it down, show the recording process, the mixing process, and kind of what happens when a recording session that you think is not gonna be on streaming or the radio or whatever. Kind of just like being prepared for that and that experience and stuff. But if you have any questions about this session or just in general, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I don't know, give me your thoughts on it, I guess, or anything that you want to see or hear about that I didn't mention in this video, I guess. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, keep watching my content. Follow me on Instagram, on Threads. I'm pretty active on those two things for sure. But yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.